master's degree in law and a research dissertation on reforming election management and administration. In as much as I believed very strongly on an expert model electoral commission, what I received in terms of and contained in this thesis, in terms of the recommendation across the board, shocked me. That increasingly the country preferred an IPPG-based model. I disagreed with it, but I came up and had that as my conclusion because I had to pay attention to the comments and the feedback and the opinion of the respondents that I interviewed. Now, I then questioned the efficacy looking at the work of similar commissions in Africa. In 2015, Mozambique adopted the IPPG model arising from Kenya. Now, what Frelimo did was essentially to buy all the commissioners that were nominated by Renamo. Again, in DRC, that is exactly what happened. But if you look at Kenya and election management as a context, if you look at the last 3 electoral cycles, I've come to the conclusion that in as much as I have supported very strongly the expert independent model, I think the situation and the Kenyan context, and also mindful of the 2002 elections, which is probably one of the best elections this country has ever had, I think this committee should consider a mixed model of IPPG and expert commission. The second thing is this committee will have to make a recommendation on dealing with the structure and the design of the Independent Electoral Commission, and I'm talking about the relationship between the Secretariat as well as the Commission. If you look at the Electoral Commission since the last 3 electoral cycles, there have been tension. In 2013, the tension between the then chairperson Ahmed Isaac and the CEO Oswago. In 2017, there was tension between the chair, Chebukati, and Ezra Chiloba. There was also in 2017 tension between the commissioners themselves. And I think in 2022, we had and we saw what happened in Bomas, serious disunity among the commission. In as much as the Supreme Court dealt with this issue, I think this committee would have to make a recommendation, possibly modeled around the Ghana Electoral Commission, where the 2 centers of power, that is the obvious result and outcome of the legal framework that we have now, that creates 2 centers of power, would have to be addressed. Let me move to the second issue, which is on boundaries delimitation. Honorable Chairs, the first delimitation exercise in Kenya was following the 2010 Constitution was completed in 2012. And the legal framework that we had there was a schedule within IEBC. Now, this law was spent because it was designed to guide the first delimitation exercise. And a remarkable feature during that first process is that the transitional provisions of the Constitution protected certain constituencies. Now, the second delimitation review exercise that the country is expected to undertake in accordance with Article 89 was expected to have commenced after 8 years, and that is in 2020, but also be concluded by March of 2024. Now, if you consider the fact that in the second delimitation exercise, there are no protected constituencies, in other words, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission would have to apply Article 89 to the fullest. I'm persuaded to believe that the time that we have is not sufficient to complete this. Our recommendation, Honorable Chairs, is that this committee or Parliament or the Judiciary should consider increasing this time frame probably for 18 months, and in this regard, I agree with the recommendation by IEBC, considering the fact that the Legale IIBRC Commission took about 4 years to complete that task. One of the lacuna, the legal gap that we have, as I've pointed out, is that the law that is supposed to guide this process has lapsed, and as a matter of urgency, Parliament needs to enact the amendments to the IEBC Act to make provisions for a legal framework to guide the second delimitation exercise. The third issue, Honorable Chairs, we have, of course, made a number of recommendations, but I'm only picking on what I think are extremely important. The third issue, Honorable Chairs, is on the voter registration of the voter register and maintenance of the voter register itself. Honorable Chairs, international best practices establishes 3 criteria for assessing the efficacy and reliability of the voter register. And these are, number 1, is the voter register a comprehensive role with adequate geographical representation? The second test is that is the voter's register an authoritative role? And finally, is the voter register accurate and verifiable? If you look at the Kenyan voter register, since this register was completed in 2012, and when we did the voter register, the country migrated, arising from the Kriegler Commission, or to integrate technology, the BVR, in the voter registration process. Now, in pre-2010 dispensation, we had what is called an optical marker reader, which was a manual process. And Kriegler pointed out the problems with the OMR system, which was reliability, verifiability, and the authenticity of that voter register. Honorable Chairs, in 2017, the IEBC, arising from the recommendation of Orengo and Kiraitu, an amendment to the Elections Act required that IEBC to conduct an audit. Now, the audit that was conducted in 2017 by KPMG revealed problems with the voter register, which bordered on the inconsistency of the register, inaccuracy, data vulnerability, and comprehensiveness were founded in the present register that we have. Now, does the present register meet these 3 tests? The answer to that question, and respectfully, is no. Now, what is the solution? And the only recommendation that we are making here is this. This committee and the country should consider a total overhaul of the present voter register for the following reasons. 1 is that we have established that the register does not comprehensively meet the 3 tests. The second point, Honorable Chairs, is the fact that international best practice requires that a voter register to exist for 10 years. This voter register was completed in 2012 and is over 10 years since its completion, and therefore is a good opportunity for the IEBC to come up with a new voter register. And finally, which is a further justification, is that voter register or registration of voters follows population census, also follows boundaries delimitation. The 2027 electoral cycle will be a complete electoral cycle in the sense that the country will be expected to conduct boundaries delimitation. To the extent that then we will conduct a boundaries delimitation, then it is necessary for the country or for this committee to recommend the country to have a new register. The fourth issue, and I'm almost winding up, is the second last issue, is on the institutionalization of political parties. Honorable Chairs, our position is that multi-party democracy does not mean proliferation of parties. The second point is that as traditional institution of representative democracy, political parties play a pivotal role insofar as strengthening democracy is concerned. But if you look at the conduct of political parties in Kenya, the jury is out there as to whether these tests have been met. Our recommendation with respect to institutionalization of political parties, especially on party discipline, is for this committee to revisit a provision that was in the Political Parties Act of 2007 requiring concurrence by a political party before a member decides to cooperate or to join the cabinet of, say, for example, in this case, a ruling party. This was the law in 2007. And I think 2007 and 2013, also because of the existence of this law, also witnessed a period where there was a bit of party discipline. What happened, the other recommendation that we are making, Honorable Chairs, is that this committee of parliament should clarify on the law of deeming or the law of floor crossing. Having worked or working in the continent, I dare say that it is only this country where a member elected in through a political, one party, can take a unilateral decision to close the floor without any effective consequences. You will recall, honorable members, that the situation obtaining in South Africa, where the African National Congress had the temerity of recalling President Mbeki at the first instance and later recalled President Zuma. The central issue here is on party discipline, and I think laws around that should be tightened. Finally, is on the elephant in the room, and that is the results management and integration of technology. Honorable members, since the Critical Commission, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has taken steps to improve and to integrate technology in the results management. In 2016, this...
Sorry, Felix.
Yes.
I think you only have 10 more minutes.
I'll take...
Kindly try and even less.
I'll take 3.
Yeah.
That is the last issue.
Okay, kindly try and...
Yes, this is the last issue, Governor. And I'll take just 3 minutes.
Plus.
The framework on results management was improved by the introduction of Kim's kit. And honorable members, this is also one area that has been seriously and robustly litigated in Kenya, from the Maina Kiai case all the way to the various presidential petitions that we have had as a country since 2013. And the judiciary has had the opportunity of making recommendations, especially in 2017, that was intended to strengthen the results management chain. 2022, the Supreme Court did not find major issues of irregularities or illegalities within that chain. So our recommendations to strengthen this is this. One, honorable members, is to appreciate the fact that when we talk about results management, the fundamental question is what happens when a voter casts his ballot and the results are declared. The whole chain dealing with counting, tabulation, collation, transmission, and declaration of results is collectively known as results management system. In 2022, compared to 2017 and 2013, there were marked improvements in the manner and the level of preparedness by IEBC in dealing with this. Where the problem was, and this is where we are making our recommendation for future elections, was the very final stages of that process. And the issues that came into the fore was the issues of accountability and transparency around that. Now, the first recommendation is that the IEBC should retreat an affirmation that the results transmitted electronically have the same weight as the results contained in the declaration forms. Number 2 is the to operationalize the schemes kit. Honorable members, why it is called an integrated system is because it has the following. The KIMS kit integrates biometric voter registration, candidates registration, candidates voter identification, and results management. The KIMS kit also has a feature in it, which is programmed, called the result display system. The result display system is what it was supposed to be displayed in bombers, where the country can follow the results from where they are. Now, in 2022, all these features worked with the exception of 2. One was the electronic tabulation of results. The KIMS kit has an inbuilt system called electronic tabulation of results. The real-time tabulation, once the returning officer or presiding officer posts the results, the minute they key it in, it should have a national rallying tally. This was not the case in 2022. The second issue was that the results display system also did not work. Our recommendation as a strategy of enhancing transparency around this issue is to ensure that the functionality of KIMS kit works the way it was designed. The third recommendation is the issue of interpretation of Article 138 on the role of the Commission in the results management chain, and I think this was ably dealt with by the Supreme Court, and there's nothing that I want to add. Finally, Honorable Chairs, is the recommendation that the Independent Electoral Commission to adopt the Ghana Electoral Commission practice of abolishing the so-called backroom collation center, where in Bomas there is a collation center and then there is a backroom collation center. The problem with this, even if there is no problem with the results, to the extent that there is a backroom collation center, it raises issues of transparency and it raises also issues of accountability. Honorable Chairs, let me leave it at that. And once again, we thank you and apologies if we took long.
Yeah, well, we thank you, Felix, for that very professional presentation. In fact, I'll be very surprised if